the previous video was running a little long, and so let's continue the conversation here. In the previous video, I mentioned that there were two ways of the management fee stepping down during the harvest period. The first way is like a literal step down, step by step. Another way of stepping down is calculate the 2% of invested capital. Now, why would that be a step down? Now, let me explain. So in this example we have here, we have $5 million and $5 million. So we have $10 million of investor money. Now, if this $10 million investor money, let's say that we are in year, 5 or 6 around here. And let's say that all of this money has been called. Now, can we put all $10 million into investments? The answer is no, because we have to leave some over for management fees and other expenses that the fund incurs, right? So we cannot invest the entire $10 million. We have to invest, 80% of that, say, right? So let's say we invested 80%. So our investment as of year 5 is say $8 million, right? $8 million. And we have, investment 1, investment 2, investment 3, right? So let's say that investment 1 is 3 million, 3 million, and 2 million, right? So you see how if we switch from, in the harvest period, if we were to switch from 2% of commitment, which is 2% of 10 million, if we were to switch that to 2% of invested capital, so that would be 2% of 8 million rather than 2% of 2 million. Or sorry, it would be 2% of 8 million instead of 2% of 10 million, right? So that's a step down already. Now, subsequently, during the harvest period, each one of these investments will eventually get sold, right? Because we have to liquidate it to pay the LPs back. Whenever one of these investments gets sold, let's say in year 7, this first investment gets retired. Investment 1 gets sold. Okay, so once investment 1 gets sold, the invested capital is no longer $8 million. It's only these two, right? So now you have $5 million of invested capital. Okay, and then 5 million, you multiply that by 2%. So that's another step down, right? We step down from 2% of 10 million. Originally we stepped down from 2% of 10 million to 2% of 8 million, and then to 2% of 5 million, right? So that's the second way of stepping down. And then eventually it will get down to 0 when all these get sold. Back to the life of the fund. At the end of the fund, what happens if the investment does not get sold? We're at year 10 and we still have this lingering investment 3 left. What do? We can ask the LP to extend it usually for 2 more years, year 11 and year 12. So the GP simply have to go to the LPs and say, hey, we still have 1 or 2 investments on our books. We are working really hard to get rid of these. Can you give us more time to get rid of these? And normally, during the extension period, management fee is no longer charged. So despite we were saying that earlier that these are 10-year life, as you can see, it's not necessarily a 10-year life, right? So in the fundraising period, we can have 2 years. The real life of the fund is 10, and then you have 2 more extensions, right? So normally one of these funds, they call it 10 plus 1 plus 1. So sometime on the term sheets, when you see the life of the fund is 10 plus 1 plus 1, that's what it means. It means 10 years of the fund plus 2 more possible 1-year extensions subsequent to that. And then they don't mention the fundraising period, which adds to this, right? So a total, the fund can be as long as, close to 14 years.